Hello and welcome to the Thousand Tales podcast. I'm your host Conor Logan, and today I have the sincere pleasure of bringing on Mr. Ken Jones from his home in England. I came to know Ken as the host of the Newbury Park and Thousand Oaks Library branches monthly meetings for the Ventura County Poetry Project. A really warm and special group of like-minded poets. Well, maybe not even like-minded, but certainly a very interesting group of excellent writers. The Ventura County poetry scene, in my opinion, is mature and wonderful, lively, and filled with excellent writers. Coming into the room and meeting Ken for the first time some 3 years ago really set me up to feel like I could grow roots in this new place that I had moved to. And perhaps I might not even have this podcast today if it wasn't for meeting Mr. Ken Jones. So sit back, relax, or whatever you're doing right now. Enjoy a wonderful interview. Also happens to be my first time doing an interview remotely over a FaceTime call. There are a couple hiccups with the audio in the beginning, which quickly get cleared up. So enjoy. Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. Jeez, it's nice to see your face.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
I thought that might come on my computer, but for some reason. That's okay.
Well, would you prefer that I try to get you on your computer? I can try you at the plus 44 number.
I'm good.
Okay.
What did you use?
I just used your the .net email address. You know, when I clicked on that on my iPad, it brought up a FaceTime. So if you'd like, I can try real quick on the other.
Well, it no longer works as an email address because it's an old one, but it happens to be tied to my Apple ID, so I haven't bothered changing it all.
Gotcha. Well, you sound good to me. I've got my little my recording set up here, so I have the audio coming out of the iPad and into here, and it's being compressed and limited and made to sound nice, and then the microphone picks up my voice as well. It's like a little 4-track recorder, so I get everything in one file. It comes out great.
Okay, sounds great. Well, this is great for me because it's not video. We're not doing video anyway, are we?
No. I just my podcast is strictly audio. My target audience is trying to, it's a long form interview, and so I like longer form podcasting, and I listen to like Joe Rogan, or I listen to medical podcasts and things like that. That tend to be, 45 minutes to 2 hours, or, Joe Rogan ones. Sometimes the interviews are 3-4 hours long, I haven't. You are my 7th interview so far, and all of them have tended to be about 90 minutes or so,
Okay.
Enough time to evolve and devolve into a few topics, right? So.
Okay, perfect, whatever you like.
Yeah. Well, I thought an organic place to start would be kind of maybe just your experience in this last year. Talk about your decision to move back to where you're. Is it back to where you're from, or just back to the country where you're from?
Well, it's back to the country, but back to the locale. Yeah.
Okay, back to the locale. Okay.
It's not the same place we were from, but it's very close, and yeah.
And
so
how long was it between leaving there and moving back there?
We were in California probably 9 years.
Oh, okay.
8-9 years, yeah. So it was quite a while, but it was always my intention to go back to California. It was my intention to retire back here.
Okay.
So that was always. So it was only ever a matter, really, of how long we stayed in California. Came back.
Gotcha.
But there were a number of, we moved to California because, things got difficult with the result of the 2000 crash. And it coincided with my in-laws increasingly frail in Ventura, and it seemed to us at the time that California / the USA was likely to recover sooner. So it seemed a good time to go to California so that we could help with looking after my in-laws, and maybe we could work out there for a bit until we got enough, so wherewithal to come back.
Yeah. Were you an educator? Where are you now? What's your locale in UK?
City of Chichester.
Chichester, okay.
Yeah, which is in West Sussex, which is towards right close to the south coast of England, and it's about 60 miles southwest of London.
West Sussex.
And the Roman city, it's got a lovely cathedral, an old cathedral. The Roman city was built in the year about 70. It's established about the year 70 Anno Domini.
I see it here on the map. It looks like you're maybe a 30-minute drive from, is it Chelsea? Would be the point at the bottom?
God, Chelsea. Well, I'm surprised Chelsea comes up.
It looks like a very, very small little, mega village,
There's a city which acts as a sort of hub for a lot of outlying villages, actually. So
gotcha.
That's how Chichester is. And so that's that, and it's a great city. It's got a lovely cathedral. The Psalms were written in Hebrew by Leonard Bernstein. There's a festival theatre. Lawrence Olivier is the first director, and it acts as tryouts for the London Theatre and the festival every year.
Ken, let me interrupt you for a second. Do you happen to have headphones or anything that you can plug in? Because I notice even just you moving like the 8 or 10 inches as you move toward and away from the microphone, the audio quality is really dipping.
Let me get some.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, much, much better. Thank you for doing that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, the only problem I'm likely to have now is, I've got 80% on the phone, so I should be all right, because it just rinses.
Yes.
It just rinses the phone.
Yes.
Anyway, here I am.
Hopefully we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think we will.
Well, yeah, I remember 3 weeks ago, one of the news sites I check every day is the UK version of the BBC, because I like to get news sources from around the world and get a kind of, a more egalitarian viewpoint, right? I heard them announcing that they were doing 3 weeks of a certain level and then they would reassess. So I guess today is the 22nd day from that or so.
Well, there are different levels of restriction all over the country, but because this new strain was most prevalent in the southeast of England near London and in London, they stuck London and parts of the southeast into this most stringent restriction.
Okay.
And then they've reassessed again today, and they've put the bits of the southeast that they hadn't put in that restriction area first up. They've now put them in. So that included us now. We've got swooped up in that.
Okay.
From Boxing Day, from 26th. So we're in a fairly relaxed tier at the moment, but it gets a lot more rigid from Saturday. So that's how it'll be. But it's okay. And I think most people want it to be like that because it's so easy. It's so much more transmissible, this latest strain, that everybody wants to just hunker down until they can roll the vaccine out to more people and get better coverage. So everybody's quite supportive.
One thing you mentioned already that had me think of, has me off on a topic is 9 years being here. It's an interesting length of time. It's was it? Well, you can answer. Maybe ask. I'm going to ask a few questions together. Did you always know that you'd be here for a bit and then come back? And then also, I want you to tell me a little bit more about yourself, because for being here 9 years, it's long enough to make friends. But my experience, my assumption of getting to know you and feeling others respect, or feeling your reputation in the room during poetry groups, or how you were regarded within the poetry community, it made me feel that, had you answered you've been here 30 years, it would have been more congruent with my expectation. So what is it about you that allows you to, and there's no, it's not being a self-champion. I want to know about you. Like, what aspect of you do you think lends to you ingraining yourself with people so quickly?
Well, I hear what you say, and I mean, it's very nice of you to say all of those things, by the way. That's really nice. I did feel, too, from my side, that I did feel very, as you would say, acclimated very quickly. But it wasn't, okay, so where do you want to start? You want to know about me? I mean, look, my wife is American, so she comes from Michigan.
Okay.
And she had lived in England for a very long time, more time than she'd lived in the States, and we met over here. But we would go to California, where her parents lived. Her parents lived in Ventura. So we would go there every summer, and sometimes at the winter break too. So we would go 1 or 2 times a year since 1980. So it wasn't that America was a new place for me to be. It wasn't that California was a new place for me to be. It was somewhere that I was relatively familiar with, and obviously felt comfortable being there. The difference was when we moved there was in getting a job, and I was a bit naive about how easy or difficult it would be getting a job in education, because I'd been an educator for a long time. And over here, I'd been a college principal for 7 years.
Wow.
And I'd set up my own company and run a school improvement company for a few years too, before coming out here. So I'd been what you would call an administrator. They don't call them administrators here, but I'd been an administrator for quite a long time. Half of my teaching experience, probably.
Wow.
At that time, when I came out there, 40 years, half of it had been as an administrator. And I didn't research properly, or didn't understand the hoops you'd have to go through to get a teaching credential and then get an admin credential. And it was an eye-opener. And also, whether it was an American thing or a California thing, is that the experience one had here in England counted not over there. So, like they said, well, I remember straight off the boat, I sort of worked on getting teaching credentials, and then I worked on getting an admin credential. And at that time in California, there was an exam you could take to get a preliminary administrative credential, CPACE it was called. Mm-hmm. So I took that exam as soon as I could after I arrived. So we arrived in February, and it was June I took the exam. Go on, what?
Was that what they were calling like the emergency credential? I remember there was like kind of a crunch on teachers maybe 10 years ago, and they gave a path to kind of accelerate the ability to get a credential. Or
well, none of that applied to me.
Okay. Sorry, continue.
Well, no. So I had to take what they call the CBEST, which is a California basic education test. So to prove that I'm able to speak English and do elementary math. So I passed that. And then I had to